Thank you for the anthem. Now we're going to commence to land acknowledgement.
In the spirit and intent of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations, we acknowledge the traditional Indigenous territories on which we gather at the beginning of all CNP meetings. By learning, understanding, and acknowledging, we wish to pay respect to Turtle Island, Mother Earth, and to the rich Indigenous history of Ontario. We recognize that our work takes place on traditional Indigenous territories across Ontario. We also wish to acknowledge that the CNP head office is located on the traditional Indigenous territory of the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. This territory is a part of the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, an agreement between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. This territory is also covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. We wish to express gratitude to Mother Earth and for the resources we are using, and honor all the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people who have been living on the land since time immemorial.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Kayla. There was so much noise from your baby brother. At this point, we're going to give the digital mic to our president, Mr. Deji Sola, who's going to tell us who we are. She is the president of CMP and also a matriarch. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I just want to welcome everybody for joining Council of Nigerian Professionals. I start sharing. Everything I have to say is really in my heart. So thank you, and I want to thank my sister from another mother, Miss Antoinette Walcott, for giving her time to join us today. I've had the pleasure of working with her, and I know she has a wealth of knowledge to share with us. And I'm super excited to hear her speak, because every time she speaks, I learn something. So I really look forward to that. But what is CNP? Council of Nigerian Professional came into existence almost 3 years ago. And the idea is we want a station where we can network within ourselves. We want to build ourselves up, have role models for our children, support our businesses, and also improve our socio-economic, professional, and even political empowerment. And so we focus on sharing information because we know that information is key. When we have information, it's easy for us to make informed decisions. Some of us, some of the new people coming in, if you came in like 5-7 years ago, seriously, you're having a breeze, because some people walked the grounds before you. Some people really had to, bear the brunt of, being a minority in a country like Canada. And so we want a situation where the journey that took me 15, 16 years, maybe it will take you 5 years, maybe less. But I want to implore people today that whatever you hear, take note of it, act on it. It's one thing to hear a message. It's one thing to be motivated. It's one thing to learn skills that other people, have done, or experiences of other people. But if you're not acting on it, really, it's a wasted time. So I want you to listen well and do what we call active listening, and prepare your questions. I'm sure she'll be able to answer as many questions as possible. Like I said, CNP is all about providing information. So last year we did over 25 events, seminars, workshops, whether it's interview skills, branding, business opportunities, and things like that. And we continue this year to also do the same. We gave bursaries to our youth, where we paired our youths with mentors. We've started our mentoring program. We do Black History Month and essay competitions. So we have a lot. I would recommend that you check our chat to see all the links, whether it's our website, our YouTube channel. So much wealth of knowledge. Again, use the wealth of knowledge. About 4 weeks ago now, we had a newcomer event. Some people reached out and they asked for additional support, and we're able to give it to them. And they reached out to let us know that they got jobs. CMP do not promise people jobs, but we promise to mentor you, coach you, be there for you, walk with you, hold your hand to make sure we can actually grow together. Because when we grow together, our community becomes better. So thank you again for joining, and I'm just going to pass it back to Patience. So even though she didn't introduce herself, I used this opportunity to introduce Patience. Patience is the Vice President of Council of Nigerian Professionals. She is a passionate woman. Oh my goodness, I thought I was passionate. I met another one in her. She is a go-getter. She's the type that when she puts her hand into doing something, she gives it all it takes. And I'm really, really privileged to be on this journey with Patience. Professionally, she's an assistant branch manager with TD. So thank you, Patience, for anchoring this, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was so much. Thank you. So now is the time where we're going to introduce our speaker for today. Antoinette is a senior manager at RBC, operating out of the GTR regional office. She's a part of a team responsible for collaborating across lines of business to effectively launch and ebb market initiatives. With 30 years of experience in the financial industry, Antoinette has held numerous leadership roles, both internationally and in Canada. Returning from the Caribbean to Canada 6 years ago, she steadily progressed from branch leader, single location, to community market leader, providing oversight for 5 branch locations, and recently assumed her recent role in RBC's GTR regional office, allowing for greater impact across the GTR market. Antoinette was ranked in the top 5% of RBC leadership and considered to be an authentic leader, embodying excellent people skills, a very high emotional quotient, EQ, and one who elevates performance through strong mentorship and coaching. She's an advocate for children. Her care has led her to be a mentor for youths over the years, and she continues to give back to the community through RBC supported and sponsored activities. She's also a member of Canadian Association of Urban Financial Professionals. She holds a Master of Business Administration MBA with a minor in marketing from Shuley School of Business, York University, Toronto, Ontario. And on her personal life, she's married with 2 adult daughters. Wow.
What I like
to hear. Thank you so, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Patience, for that introduction. I hope everybody is hearing me okay. Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. And thank you, Addie Jazola, for the invitation today. It's indeed my absolute pleasure to be here amongst you all this evening. Firstly, I, would have had to jot some notes because you heard the career is a long and winding one. So forgive me if I do, check from time to time to keep me on track. But, I really like this to be personal. And as Addie Jazola, we chatted earlier, I'll give, the update. But of course, if you feel that you want to, stop me and ask any question, please do. I'm willing to, pause and take any kind of comments or questions. But before I begin, I must commend Addie Jazola, as president of the CNP and your membership for what you're doing every day. What you said a while ago was absolutely inspirational, right? And no light feat at all by all of you. What I also have read about your activities, you provide tremendous support to both your membership and to the wider community. And therefore, I just want to take a moment to stop and applaud and say, job well done. On a personal note, if your attendees will allow me 1 other minute before I jump into my, main task, I just want to again say congratulations to you, Adi Jazola, on being last year's recipient of RBC's Global Citizen Award. And for those of us who, may not realize, this is one of RBC's highest awards. And it basically recognizes top performing employees who have also displayed an incredible commitment in giving their time, their expertise to their communities by volunteering and leading charitable initiatives. So again, no small feat on your behalf, Adi Jazola. I hope you enjoyed the event that RBC threw for you this week, specifically for the group of GCAs. Did you?
It was amazing. It was amazing. Learning about the First Nations, the Inuit culture, meeting those artists, learning about the stone, architectural art. Oh my goodness. Simply amazing. Simply amazing.
Fantastic. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And, again, just thank you for all you do and for this particular group and for the community in general. For me, you're absolutely exceptional. Wow. So with all that said, let me jump into what my main task and ask was for this evening. Basically to share a bit about myself and my heritage, my background, and a reflection on my career journey and my learnings. Now, you heard that's over 30 years. So I'm going to try and see how best I can, find some connectivities and, squeeze that down. And hopefully at the conclusion, you will find at least one thing that you can take away this evening that will help propel your journey forward, right? So I guess I have about an hour, Adi Jazola. I don't think I'll need all of that. But I think, thank you so much for the time. And as you indicated in your agenda, there will be some time for question and answering after. So for preparing for this evening, I did a simple process, which I call my 3 R's. And I'm going to take you through it. And, I call it recollection, retrospection, and revelation, the 3 R's. And what this is, recollection, well, in order to talk about your journey, you have to recall exactly what you have done. So I actually took time and reflected on all those roles and paths that I did from the beginning of my journey. And believe me, as again, 30 years, my first job was at 10. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as I go through. Number 2, retrospection, of course, involves reviewing of life experiences. And wow, what an exercise that is. Sometimes we don't like to look back, and take stock. But it's also very helpful, because you can figure out what you learned and what would have influenced possibly some of those, journey progressions, the ups and downs and everything. So recollection, retrospection, and then revelation is really the insights that I pull from, insights of understanding and relevance, like just what motivated me possibly, what keeps me rejuvenated and keeps me future ready. I know that's a term we hear a lot of now. Yeah. And, just keeps my career aspirations going and progressing. So right off the bat, again, before even hearing anything about me, I would encourage you all, right, to try out something of this nature. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing, but at some point along your journey, you should take stock, right? I tended to do it maybe every 5 years, but you can pick whatever period of time, is suitable for you. And just this framework, it allows me to kind of pull my thoughts together. And, once you start writing things down on paper, we know the power of getting pen to pad, right? You begin to see things and you may be just surprised, of what it reveals. So for me, going through this process today and preparing for this, I again came back to the 3 overarching reveals that really these principles keep bubbling to the top, that set my foundation and what really has spurred and propelled my progression throughout my career. And, I'm going to point them out to you as I share my background and my career journey. So how did I make my way to where I am now? And as Patience actually shared, my current role is Senior Manager, Initiatives and Implementation in GTR. And this is a small but mighty team, and it has impact on over 3,500 employees within the GTR. And this team, I believe, fuels the engine of RBC in Canada, right, Adi Jazola? The GTR. And, it involves a lot of collaboration with executive leadership in GTR and the wider national office team. And I would actually go on to say that, from what I've seen and understood, it seems to be a highly coveted role, or area of the bank to be in. And therefore, to be a part of this team, I'm so excited and, very proud to be there. And I'm also finding it deeply satisfying to be representing a person of color in that setting. Thumbs up. So my journey started in Jamaica. Yep, that's where I was born. Spent most of my formative years there. And, you would have heard in the introduction by Patience that I recently returned to Canada from the Caribbean. And that is because literally I've been back and forth between Jamaica and Canada, these 2 countries, at least 3 times. So born in Jamaica, back to Canada, back to Jamaica, back to Canada, back to Jamaica, back to Canada. And yes, I'm going back to Jamaica. So, with that kind of backdrop, it certainly sets the stage for quite a unique life journey and a career, right? Just the movement. So at the age of 2, my parents migrated to Canada. And as many families today, my mother and father, they were looking for a better life. Yes. They had hopes and dreams for the future. And, I can just imagine how excited they were, getting this opportunity to expand and explore. However, for them, those dreams were very short-lived. Maybe a little bit over 5 years they were here, because as we may recognize in the 60s, Canada was a very different landscape, right? In terms of diversity and, opportunities that were afforded to people of color. And I think, Adi Jazola, you made mention of those that were here before us, right? Just what they had to go through to make it even possible for me to be considered in this role where I am today, right? So it was a different landscape. And my father was holding down 2 jobs. He was a factory worker by day and a taxi driver by night. And I think, the stress of the long hours commingled with a young family, financial responsibilities, and societal challenges, I guess for him, it just proved more than he wished to bear. So he decided to return to Jamaica, but my mother decided she would stay. And for whatever reason, and by that time, my brother, who was born here in Canada, returned to Jamaica with my father. And, that was very unusual, because usually when there's a separation of parents, we know more than likely, many times out of 10, you go with your mom, not really with your dad. But I actually grew up with my father's parents. And, you know, so already you can see it's a kind of unconventional situation to begin with. So, but, you know, in retrospect, out of that circumstance, it turned out to be one of the best and the most solid foundation that I could have had growing up. It was just unbelievable. My grandfather was the patriarch of the family, and he was strong-willed, resilient, and determined, and he was building a diversified small business to take care of his immediate family and extended family now. And with now grandchildren in the mix, you know, he told me when, you know, I got older that he really found, you know, his grandchildren to be the inspiration that continued to help him push on and to strive for greater things. So, you know, he was disciplined, he was principled, he worked hard, he was proud of his heritage and his accomplishments, and he aspired for excellence always. And he always shared a lot of quotes and gems to us as we grew up as children. And to this day, you know, I live by so many of them. He also, I'm sure, while he was building that legacy, you know, had many trials and disappointments too, because that's a part of life. But what it appeared to me, even at that young age, is that he never gave up at all, and he pushed through. So in reflection for this period of time in those formative years, for me, it shaped my values. And it definitely created a strong work ethic, because as young as I was then, I had to help out down at that business after school and in the summers. And it helped to ground me and help build what I would say is self-identity, just knowing who you are. And that foundation kept me close to my family. It also kept me, the business exposed me to the wider community. And my grandfather's views and values helped to influence who I became and propel me forward to do the very best that I could do and be. So my first reveal is that, one, remember your values. Remember your values. They are your foundation. They help define your purpose and they guide your steps on the journey. Think about them, right? Reflect on them. Write them down. They are your compass. And, you know, they help you to understand where you're going and where you want to be. I think a definition I saw for your values one time, and I had jotted it down here, it's those things that you believe are important in the way you live and work. They should determine your priorities, and deep down, they probably measure, you probably use them to measure, you know, how well you think you are doing in life, right? To get where you want to be. So again, you know, it's really important to understand and know your values. And one of the quotes my grandfather used to say to me in those formative years was about education. And I think maybe many of us may know it. Labor for learning before you grow old. Anybody knows this one? For learning is better than silver and gold. Silver and gold will vanish away, but a good education will never decay. We used to sing that. I don't know where we got the tune, but we would sing that over and over. And so I'll never forget that quote, and it became a part of me. And I understood it to mean that education and continuous learning was priceless. It is priceless. You know, and it's education not only found in books, that is important too, but also in new and different environments, right? So after completing high school, off to Canada again I went, and this time to do my tertiary education. And that was a must, and I had to find a way. And I did, but it was not easy either, especially being in a new environment, right? Now as what you'd say now, not quite an adult yet, almost on the verge of 18, but getting there. And also, too, that even though my mother was up here all these years, after about a year, her support began to wane for me. So there's always some issues, that we had to face as mother-daughter going through our journey at that time too. So no matter what, as hard as it was for me then, I never allowed that situation to define me. I always knew staying positive and, persevering, I would make steps forward. And I think that's the time, that I truly understood the power of positive quotes and thinking. Sometimes we don't realize how important those quotes are. And I guess that's why my grandfather probably used them quite a lot to us too. They do lift our spirits. And I developed an absolute love for them. I have them even all around me here, just whenever you may feel that moment coming on, or even just to lift me even higher, I do refer to them. You can look for the good in everything. There's a quote, a positive quote about every situation in life. So lucky for me, I had an extended family up here, a couple other family members who ventured out, earlier years before, and they were willing to support my vision for continuing my education. They encouraged me. They were able to give me, a little bit of place to stay, food, clothing, the basics. But for the financial part, I really had to find my way primarily with that. So I spent countless hours searching, going through OSAP, looking for grants, reaching out for private and public, opportunities during that period of time. And while I was going through that and waiting for a breakthrough, because I'm positive and keeping on pushing, I did a variety of jobs, right? I looked at them like stepping stones to where I wanted to get to, right? So I was a hostess. I cleaned tables and I mopped floors. I was a cashier at Burger King for some time. And I also was a typist and a secretary at a legal office part-time. And, while still doing those, I also continued to pursue education, did little courses here and there where I could, because I recognized that coming from the Caribbean, Canadian education was, seemed to be a priority with anybody, talking to you from outside of Canada. So, I think Adijazola or maybe Patience mentioned newcomers, that you do things for newcomers, so they can attest to this, where sometimes, and my husband, because he is literally, truly a newcomer, he would say, when he was doing his job search, just, Canadian education, like how do you get, you have to have something of that to reflect a bit for them to feel comfortable that you can transfer the skills that you may have used for decades somewhere else here. So, quickly I learned that in my early teens, and I did little things here. Lotus 1, 2, 3. I don't even know if anyone knows that. I think it's still before Excel, right? And Karen Hall careers, with shorthand and typing, and some of those other little things just to keep learning and also, keep moving, right? And I must say, thank goodness, and I'm always grateful to say, after that stint, I was able to be accepted into the university, and I did complete my Bachelor of Business Management with honors, being on the Dean Honors list for those 4 consecutive years. So, again, it just goes to show sometimes, it may look so distant, and how are you going to get there? But taking those steps forward really makes a difference. So my second reveal principle, and I have 3, so I'm at my number 2, keep your eye on the prize. Stay positive, stay focused, set your goals and be deliberate about them, right? Order or reorder your steps depending on what, gets thrown in your way. Commit to them, keep busy, be patient. And I know all of that is a mouthful, but I think maybe one of my favorite Bible verses that I came across when I used to teach youth Sunday school captures this succinctly. it actually says, in Proverbs 21, for those of us who may, read the Bible, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. And looking back, believe me, that's exactly what I did. I stayed diligent to what I was trying to achieve. And, also attending church Saturday and Sundays for all those years, because my great-grandmother was Adventist and my grandparents were Anglican, so I had to go both on Saturday and Sunday. It certainly gave me, I see Eddie Gizola smiling. It certainly gave me another pillar of strength. My faith and spirituality, they play an important part in my journey. So now coming on to the third and final reveal of my principles, during my undergrad, my first summer, I sent out uncountable resumes, right? Trying to find a job, as many of our youngsters do now, and many of our newcomers, right? And finally, a bank, RBC it was actually, Adi Gizola, sent me an invitation for an interview for a part-time role as a steno and a typist. And, this was basically to cover for, like you'd say, branch secretaries. That means, in those days, people did have secretarial roles. So when these secretaries went for summer vacation, a week or two, they needed someone to kind of sub in to do that kind of steno work for the different branches. And it meant, therefore, that I'd have to go around a lot in the GTR to a number of branches over that period of time. And to be honest, in that moment, I paused when I did get it, although I really wanted the job. I just thinking, wow, it just seemed like, so much, maybe after paying for transportation, what they're going to pay me for my salary, I may not have much left. But even though I did have some reservations, I went to the interview, and at that interview, they reviewed my, what I call stepping stone resume, of hostess, cashier, typist. And from the conversation, it absolutely became clear that they did not see those words literally as I saw them. They saw them as customer service, handling of money and finance, and leadership support, right? They made me an offer for the role, and I accepted. And that turned out to be a stroke of fortune for me, for the moment and for the future. Because I said yes, and I did my best. Every summer after that first one, they invited me back to return. And after graduation, they did offer me a full-time role. The experience I gained was indeed priceless. And I learned about leadership, collaboration, teamwork, customer service, just being around. I may not have been doing everything directly, but being around persons who were doing it, the list could go on and on. The experience with being in one of the big banks too was tremendous, and it helped to elevate my application when I decided to pursue my MBA. And again, I'm grateful and very proud to say I'm one of the first in my family to attain a master's degree, and as Patience shared, from Schulich School of Business. And that was way back in 1991. Should I age myself? Oh, yes, it's 30 years. Okay, I know I look not a day over 16. How did she do it? So my third and final revelation, which set me up for success in my career, is that I say yes. I say yes. Be open to opportunities that present themselves. Every experience you learn and grow. No role is ever too small to help you move forward. Reframe sometimes how you see what you have done, what your experience is, and don't ever underestimate the value. So those are the three. So in retrospect, throughout my banking career, these three principles set the foundation and growth for what I defined as success and became my framework to build my career. Again, I'll repeat: my values, especially the continuous learning and education, books and environment, the goal setting supported with action plans, and openness to opportunities. I can't repeat them enough. They did wonders for me, and I'm certain, they should do wonders for others too. So post my MBA, I returned to Jamaica. My dad called this my altruistic period. He thought I was just going to, come back maybe and within a year head back to Canada. But guess what? I spent 23 years in Jamaica, built a career and raised a family. I started out with a local bank for the first 7 years. And then, as if all of this movement wasn't enough, I stepped aside from banking for 5 years to run the family business. And then I returned back to banking. And guess what? RBC returned back to Jamaica after leaving decades before and invited me back to join the RBC fold in the Caribbean. Talk about full circle. And a gem, never burn any bridge behind you. You never know. So over the 23-year banking career in Jamaica, I moved and I grew, putting my principles and, into play. And I'm just going to list chronologically the roles that I had. I started as assistant manager for corporate banking, then manager corporate banking, head office branch manager, commercial business manager, then CEO for my family business, then back to branch manager, assistant general manager, assistant vice president personal banking, area vice president personal banking, head market coordination and optimization, which is kind of a role second, like a 2IC, second in command to the managing director. So from these roles, you can see putting those principles into action. I definitely, in my opinion and in my definition of success, would have made strides towards where I wanted to be. And it also shows my love for leadership. I hope that shines through in these kinds of roles. I grew to love people and, just how, if you love leadership, you don't have to have people directly reporting into you. It's just how you carry yourself, right? And what you stand for. And therefore you can influence and unlock people's potential and you can change their lives. And so, at my peak in leadership in Jamaica, I had over 300 employees under my care. And if you noted, even though I took those 5 years off for the family business, the upskilling I got during that time made me a better leader and even a better banker. So when I did return to banking, as you may have recognized, I moved from, although starting again as branch manager after coming back in, to second in command at RBC Jamaica very quickly in the years that followed. So another gem, don't be afraid of stepping out, stepping sideways, and even stepping down a role if it's right for you and it's what you value. You may be surprised at the learnings, and it may propel you even higher than you ever thought in the future. So with every experience in Jamaica, that helped me to grow and attain recognition. Well, it helped me to grow and attain, as I think Patience made mention, recognition of the ranking of being in the top 5% of leadership here in Canada. Never underestimate the value that you have within and what you have earned, your experience, what you bring to the table, right? So here I am again in Canada. One could argue that this final move to Canada, this change, was foolhardy. I remember my father's, after seeing, first he thought I would have come back immediately after I got there, but then I ended up staying 23 years and building up all that he then saw. He then thought going back to Canada was, oh my goodness, Antoinette, decide where you want to live. So some of my family felt, they had mixed feelings about this move back to Canada, this change. It was daunting for them and for me, and scary. And, I had a large network that I had in the Caribbean. I was familiar with that environment and I was very successful there. I was now older, yes, and I was not accredited for any kind of branch financial, requirements in the industry. And I would have had to leave my family for a while because my husband wasn't coming with me at that exact time. And my kids, although they were in school, they still called home Jamaica. So I would be really, again, on my own. But with faith, I put my principles again to the test. My values of family and wider community allowed me to network those contacts both here, meaning in Jamaica, and those who had connections here in Canada. And my family that was here again supported me and said, I'll help you to settle in. And within 2 months of my arrival, I was able to rent a small condo and start this leg of the journey. I continued with my studies, acquired the necessary industry accreditations to fulfill my conditional job offer that I accepted, because I had to get those industry qualifications, Adijazola, or they would not take me on permanently. So this role, again, was branch manager. I came in as a trainee back in Canada. It didn't matter. You thought I was going to slide in at the same level that I was in the Caribbean. No, that would have just been too easy, really. So I had to start again from the foundation. It is what it is, right? I simultaneously looked for things that were needed for future success, and I set my goals and I did my plan. And I let persons know that I am open to opportunities, and as they presented themselves, I took it. So within 6 years of being here in Canada, branch manager trainee, branch manager for a single location. Then I became branch manager with oversight for 3 locations. And as Patience did mention, community market manager, responsible for 5 locations and roughly 60 team members. And since 2020, my current role as the senior manager for GTR, the regional office, supporting, as I said, with impact and influence, about 3,500 employees. And we all know in 2020, life continued to get very interesting. The pandemic, right? So 2 months after moving to my office downtown and having all my plans of how I was going to, interact and network and rebuild, with my sights set eventually for national office. It's still set there. They sent me home. First time in my life to work from home. And, now I had a new role, just 2 months into the role. I had new expectations, from my new boss. I had to do new learnings because this role, if you remember, what I primarily did was people leadership. This role, I don't have anyone reporting directly into me. It's more of an individual contributor role where you basically now have to ensure that you do things on your own, you come up with ideas, creativity. It's a different set of skills that even though you may have had them in the past, you weren't necessarily utilizing them every day. So for sure, you had to kind of brush up on it. And then being, at home, new learnings, this new environment, but okay, I've faced daunting before. And that's what I said. I looked for the positive in the situation. And I knew I had the tools, and the roadmap to help me. And so I'm happy to say that last year, just after 1 year, I was recognized by the regional office team as one of their most valuable players and I did receive a quarterly award. So, it does work. And I'm just also happy to share that within the 6 years, my husband did come and join me in Canada, and my daughters are also here. And with patience, he, as a true newcomer, because remember, I was a Canadian citizen, and that's why I was able to go back and forth. I had to file for him. And then when he got here, he actually had to seek employment as a newcomer. And he went to a lot of the programs that support newcomers, Access and so on. And he does a lot of mentoring for them too, because, he found, even though, he had his 25 years experience, you have to understand the Canadian culture, and you have to understand, as Adijazola says, how do you network and how do you get seen, and to actually position yourself properly for the role, hopefully, that you're aspiring to. So yes, he did find work in his IT field. And my kids, before I get to my kids, we were able to acquire a home. I moved out of the 2-bedroom condo. I figured out how to prepare myself and get everything for a mortgage. Got my home. I'm here in Milton, not too far from Adijazola. Got my car. I was taking the bus. I didn't put that in the early part, but I used to take the bus for the first 2 years, 3 hours one way, 3 buses to the different branch, 6 hours a day traveling by bus, and when I was in Jamaica, of course, I had what I call there my chariot. I used to drive an Audi Q5. Well, I'm happy to tell you that that's what I'm in now, after 60 years. But, you do what you have to do, but you keep your eyes on that prize, what matters and what you are trying to achieve. And then my daughters, yes, we did help them, and they did complete their tertiary studies, and now they live on their own in downtown Toronto. And as a proud mom, I'd have to do a plug for the 2 of them. My first one, she graduated with an MSc, a Master's in Engineering from UPenn, the Ivy League in the States, and she works with a tech venture capitalist company downtown Toronto now. And my second one, she graduated with a BA in Media Studies and a minor in Commerce with honors from UBC out west, and she now works for McKinsey and Company. And that's a global company that helps other large companies, yes, achieve what they need to achieve. So far, so good. Everything kind of came around in a circle and worked out. So despite, all the challenges, and all of life's ups and downs, I'm still standing, right? And I'm here to tell you that we all can still be standing. And I continue to have a positive outlook and an abundance of curiosity about what the future holds, what's on the horizon. So I urge all of you today to find your principles, find what drives you, keep your eyes on your prize, stay positive, stay resilient, and keep pushing on. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
I know, a mouthful.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Antoinette, for that. You literally took us through a journey, and from all you've said, I can tell you something. Majority of us, if not all of us on this platform listening to you, absolutely relates. Yes. Because when you're telling a story, and I can find a piece of myself in that story or ourselves, it really resonates. It makes us feel, oh yes, now I can flow from what she's saying. Because being an immigrant from Nigeria, which the majority of us are here, our stories are virtually the same. So thank you so much for giving us hope that you can make it. It could be daunting, like the word you use the word daunting more than 6 times, which shows yes, it was something that at some point I'm sure you'll be like, can I do this? But yeah, resilience, persistence, you kept using those words. Those are words I got from your story. And I want to say something again, that it really made me shudder. The fact that you said, don't, when you come in, don't look at the big picture. Have your values, but still look at how you can fit in. The story from how you took the RBC job the first time, even if it wasn't something you saw yourself in, but you took it, you went in, proved to them, and you became a constant figure for them to keep calling you, recalling you back. And that was how your beautiful story emerged. So I'm so grateful. I can tell you most of us have questions. My one, I have the privilege of the first question. So I'm going to ask, and my question is, that point to come back to Canada after you built so much in Jamaica? I mean, how were you able to roughen that part of your life? I mean, your family didn't come with you. You came. Just how at night did you cry sometimes? How was it?
Oh yes, there were tears, ups and downs for sure. But like I said, the things that really drive me is the positive. I try to stay positive. I always say, feel sad for a while, but don't build your home there, right? Don't stay too long in that valley. Lift yourself out. But of course, it's a part of life. Well, in all honesty, RBC decided to shrink its footprint in a part of the Caribbean, and they moved out from a number of countries, for those of us who may be following kind of like the financial industry. And I actually decided that I wanted to stay, and I went across to the organization that they actually sold what you would say now, footprint to, the Jamaican. But again, with your values, nothing wrong with who they sold it to, but believe me, I've so found it's such a joy when you find what you personally value that aligns with your organization's values, right? And because values, as you see from my story, is so important to me, I found it a bit challenging to really try to undo them. It felt unnatural. And therefore, with my kids, being in school at the time, a university, they left home from about 17 to go to UPenn and UBC. I figured, they probably would not be coming back to Jamaica. They would probably be spreading their wings in a North American kind of style, or maybe European, because, these young people today, the world is their oyster. That's how they see it. So, there were some things that were kind of nudging me on, but it's still, I won't lie, it still was a risk, right? I reached out to those who knew me well and those who knew of connections with RBC in Canada, and let them know that I was interested, and I'm willing to start at the foundation. I never call it the bottom. I never enjoy people saying I'm starting at the bottom. It's starting at the foundation, right? Because the value you get from that foundation really builds credibility and allows you to climb even faster than maybe if I did slip in at a higher role, persons would be, always questioning if I truly understand what this market is about, right? So yes, I did have, but funny enough, there wasn't too many tears. When I make a decision, I'm that kind of person, I don't waffle around it. I kind of look at the pros and cons. In my gut too, I knew that I wanted to have this kind of international kind of experience too, because I did tell you I plan to go back to Jamaica and I want to go back with that kind of international experience. So at the end of the day, it takes a lot of grit, and it does take, a certain amount of risk taking to do it, and confidence in yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, you do have your commitments. It does take a toll too on the family. Don't get me wrong. You have to really strive to keep those connections, with your husband, with, your family, etc. And, when you get here, to really recognize what the lay of the land is. That's kind of how I look at it, right? Not to have your expectations or how you view yourself beat down yourself. Because I could have easily said, I was vice president, right? And get very lofty in role titles. And, I've seen that, defeat people who have come up to Canada thinking that, I should be somewhere else that I'm not. In my mind, yes, that's kind of how I felt, but I never had that self-talk defeat me. I just said, okay, this is it. I'm open. I'm going to show. I'm going to prove. I know I can. And I just kept that attitude moving forward. And I continue to do it up to this day.
Wow. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Any questions? If you have questions, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand and we will call you in. But right now, the floor is open. If you have a question, you can go in and chip in. Okay. Dima, yeah, go ahead and ask a question.
Hi, okay. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. Antoinette, thank you very much. For me, Patience knows at the point where I want to run back home. I came in last year during the lockdown, and it's been a challenge, a tough one. Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy that I'm in this meeting today because I've learned a lot. I've taken a whole page of notes, and I'm going to try to build my own principles and roughing it up no matter how it is. But for me, one question that I have is this that has been bugging me, like Patient knows that, Dejisola knows that, is when you are in a place, I know we have to start from somewhere. We are all new here, we have to start. And you're in a place where you basically struggle every day to do what you're supposed to do. You're putting in all your, like everything you have to make an impact where you are, but you still find yourself keep struggling. What's the advice? Like, it's not where you want to be, but it's a step. You need to start from there. And you have to do your best in that role to be able to move forward. Mm-hmm. And you think, could it be that maybe you should go to something else or move to something else, or should you keep pushing it and keep hoping that you get there?
Well, thank you for your question. Again, that's why I think, the foundation and your values, right? You have to reflect on those. What is important for you? I personally believe, right? And I mean, in my career, there have been roles that I honestly struggled with too, and nothing came naturally. I remember when I did get back to Jamaica and I was in corporate banking, I did have to present, you would say, presentations for funding on behalf of clients. And it didn't come naturally to me because it wasn't something I knew, but I knew I had to get through that step to get to where I wanted to be. What I did find was a good mentor. I did find somebody who had been through it, right? I don't know your exact situation, but I did find somebody who had been through it and ask, right? Let me tell you, I am not afraid to ask, right? In fact, some persons say to me, I expose myself too much by the questions I ask. I said, but if I don't know, I don't know. I want to know, right? That's how you get information and you learn. So I did a kind of latch on, to persons who have been through it and hear their experience and what they did to get through it. And I can tell you that even though I didn't love it, I made it through. And I made it through as one of the best candidates in that role. It was just so surprising to me too. So I would say, one, know your values, right? You have to know when enough is enough for you, right? I can't tell you that. What I know, a kind of overarching principle for me is that, you don't want to give up too early, right? I don't know the length of time or how much effort and energy you have put in, but you want to give yourself a chance. And especially, as you said, if you know it's to your next step, you need this, then, you may have to go a little bit above and beyond, and getting someone who has been in it before can help probably shine a light. And also just to talk it through, they may have gone through the same emotions you have, and it's not you alone. So it's not you, it's just really what this job, brings people to, and therefore it's not personal, right? So I'd say think on maybe those two things, right? But at the end of the day, every decision that we make, revolves around what's right for you, right? What's right for you. But make sure that you've given yourself a chance, because just to bring in my daughter here, I remember when she was at Penn in the States, and after about 6 months in her first year, she said, "Mom, I can't do this. Everybody here is brighter than me, to use a Jamaica term." And I can't, and it was just too hard. And, I thought, oh my God, you're just 6 months into a four-year program, let's talk, right? And through talking and getting her, there were support groups that were there on campus, having them, for persons who were called as, international students, because she would be an international student there. That was what helped her. And let me tell you, she graduated top of her class, at that university. So give yourself a chance, right? Sometimes you need a breather. Find others who may have gone through it, and then really see if it's time to throw in the towel, or if you give it that next push.
Wow.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Dima, is that okay? Are you okay with the response?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
Yeah. From what I heard, Antoinette said, know when enough is enough, but still give it. According to what Adijila always tells me, she said nowadays is not give it your best, give it all it takes.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I will implore you, Dima, to listen to what Antoinette said. Give it all it takes and see when enough is enough for you to decide what to do. But first, ensure you do give it all it takes.
That's right.
Okay? Thank you so much. So we have Mike Major. Can you please ask a question? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patience. I really enjoyed Antoinette's story. So inspirational. And I thought the same line with Patience. And most of us have similar thread of story that we can easily, weave into your own fabric of story. We share something in common as immigrants coming from different countries. So I see something in you, and I think it shines across. You're somebody that is patient and also bold. It shines across. And I was just curious, how do you consider that bold step of moving back after 20 years, moving back to Canada? What are the things that you consider? What are the factors that made you decide that this is the best move I can make at this time of my life, knowing that you've left Canada for 20 years?
Yeah. Wow. When I think back to that, I think I mentioned it a little earlier. My values, they are so strong. My grandfather, influenced and instilled the values that I truly, believe in, and became me. So the fact that where I was gone to, I had left RBC and gone across to this new organization, it was not aligning well with what those values were for me as a senior leader. And therefore, I was thinking, I probably could still be successful there, but it would be so, is there a word as unauthentic? It would be so not me, right? And could I live being somebody that I'm not? We use the word authenticity a lot here in Canada, but I need to be real. I need to be who I am. And I think I would have struggled with some of those things. And being at a very senior leadership role, you kind of have to be on the same page in order to effectively lead a company, right? To be a part of that leadership team. So that was something I was grappling with, and I don't think Dinmas, is kind of grappling too. I don't think that I could have lived with continuing on that journey. So it would either have been, finding another role at that level in Jamaica, or because I had that option of coming to Canada. As I said, I was a Canadian citizen. So, and I did know, I'm not going to undervalue it. Having that BA and MBA from Canada would certainly have given me a stronger, I guess, footing to kind of stand on. I had the Canadian experience from institution that they were familiar with here in Canada, right? So, yeah, those two things were important. And then, you know, like I said, the confidence in me. I just, you know, I was 49. So, you know, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about their age here in Canada. I don't keep secrets. I was 49 when I made that decision. And, you know, that's not an easy age to make that decision to, you know, start over a career. But like I said, my kids were in university. I didn't necessarily think that they would have returned to Jamaica to find their employment. And like I said, I had every confidence in me, right? I just felt I had done so much before that I could put principles to work and be able to spin my nest here. You know, I didn't think that I necessarily would have begun at branch manager trainee, but like I said, when they made the first offer, I just took it because in my mind, I said, you know what, I'm not going to grapple about this. I need income. They're going to, my kids are in school and I have to make a contribution to that pot too. I can't be without work for too long. And I just really said, you know I can move up. I just had that positive outlook and I just kept moving that way. So it's not easy. Believe me, don't think that it was. But, you know, I had my home in Jamaica and I actually kept it for about a year before finally making the decision to sell it. And, you know, really end the real asset ties with the Caribbean. But initially, yes, you know, some days you're like, you know, wow, is this going to really work out? Can I really find that tenacity within me to, I think the hardest piece is to deal with your feelings and your emotions too, as you try to navigate in Canada, because persons, you know, may look at you and assume certain things and you know what you are bringing to the table, but they don't know. And somehow you have to find a way for them to see it. So I hope that kind of gives you some insight as to why I made that decision and, you know, how come I was able to make it. My husband was quite supportive. You know, he knew that I'm very kind of headstrong, you know, and I guess after, you know, close to 30 years of marriage, I guess the actual outcomes of some of my risk-taking have worked out for the best for the family. So he was very supportive, and he has always been that way throughout my career. So I also knew that, you know, he had my back, you know, with this, and eventually he would come. And like I said, he has been up here, you know, for I think about 4 years since I've arrived. So not easy. You're looking and you're hopeful and you have your dreams. You have to keep the finances in, you know, perspective too, based on your own personal situation, and just know as a family what it is that you're willing to risk, right? And then, you know, bet on yourself, right? That's what I did. I bet on myself.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If I may, Patience, can I ask one more?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Thank you. So just before you finished your last thought there, you mentioned something about being in a room where sometimes some people assume something about you. And so that leads me to my next question. You know, I'm sure you've been in an environment where you're the minority in that environment. So how did you find your shine to exercise the skill that you bring? And, you know, because I'm sure you've kind of handled different leadership positions and stuff. So as a minority, how do you manage that being a leader in a minority environment, and I'm sure sometimes you probably have faced, some silent discrimination
Oh, yes.
or so how, in this Canadian setting, what are the advice that you have for young professionals that are growing up? Things that you think that, oh, you know what, if I knew that 20 years ago, I would have done it differently. Knowing that you have so much years of experience, both internationally and in Canada. What are the advice you would give for people that, if as minorities in leadership position, what are the things you think you can share? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for that. Well, I must say again, the values, and again with your organization, for RBC, I can speak specifically. Diversity and inclusion is one of the pillars that they certainly work towards exercising and demonstrating. That still doesn't say that it is zero in any space in Canada. Of course, I've experienced that. Even when I was up here doing my studies, I had an altercation, not brought on by me. And of course, the worst word that could ever have slipped through somebody's mouth towards a person of color was actually said to me. So, I have had it overtly, and I also have had it, the microaggressions, if we want to use that word. My situation may not necessarily, mirror many of the attendees online. Now, I don't know, but I'll share it still because you may find something value in it. Because I had those 23 years in the Caribbean, right? I hardly had to face what we would be terming racial discrimination. We did, of course, have colorism amongst, our Black people, but really to say what we define and know as, possibly racial issues as in Canada, I truly did not have to face that. My main concern in Jamaica was being a woman in banking, right? So it was a gender bias that I was always working against, because in the Caribbean where I was, it was a lot more a man's role to be in finance, right? So a lot of my energies, went into defining a space for women. And, I was very proud of moving up to that second role as a woman. Coming to Canada, I still have the woman bit, but now color becomes even more prominent being here in Canada. But I guess for me, it's not, and I have to be always so cautious. It's such a sensitive subject, but I don't give persons any ammunition to use that against me. And what I mean by that is that I carry myself without that kind of construct leading, right? I carry myself with my experience and my confidence that I can add value. And when I feel those microaggressions where dismissive, or, you've said something and somehow it's just like, oh, okay. And they go on to someone else. And then the person says the same thing. And then it's, blown up to be such an important point that is made. And you said to yourself, but didn't I just say that in your mind? I would have definitely learned how to call that back, right? To be more vocal in drawing attention to whether intentionally or unintentionally, does have that impact on me being a person of color. So you have to be aware for sure that it is there, but I don't carry it as always looking to see it. But when I do see it and feel it, I do my best to call it out without making it necessarily confrontational, but more educational, right? I remember when I, was in school, even in those earlier days, where there was more overt than what it is now in Canada. persons, when I did bring pictures to show where I lived in Jamaica, and, they were shocked. They go, how come you live on an estate? I had never heard that word before, but I know my house had a lot of land, but, they interpreted that up here as an estate. But you could see that it was, that was not expected. And I realized that a lot is unknown by many Canadians outside their sphere, their circle. And I then took it upon me to be educational, right? And to demonstrate through my behaviors and challenge their biases and views by what I choose to do, how I carry myself, how I present myself, and, making sure that what Addie Jazola said, that those ancestors would be proud, when I'm in that room. But you still face it every day. And I acknowledge that it definitely is there.
Thank you very much for the answer. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mike.
Can I just add a few comments? Seriously, Antoinette, I said it that anytime you open your mouth, I love it a lot. So I really, really want to thank you. It was simply an amazing time listening to you. But some of the things that we say in RBC, and this is not just to blow RBC's trumpet, but there's some things that we say that I hear you say, and I just want to use those words. It's all about knowing when to push,
yes,
pull, and when to pivot. It can't be just going straight all the time. You got to know when to make those moves. And also knowing how to have a discussion without arguing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've seen that as women, African heritage, Caribbean heritage, if our tone goes a little bit high, we're given a name.
Yeah.
If we don't talk, we're given a name.
Mm-hmm.
In our culture, Nigerian, we don't tend to look at people in the eye. We came to Canada to learn that means something. And so as much as I love Canada, I always say that I see a lot of diversity, but the inclusion part, I think we're all working on it.
Yes,
so,
you are absolutely correct.
Based on everything you said, you talked about having a positive attitude. I really love that. There's actually a way that you walk. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, they told me.
She carries herself in a way that you would know that this person knows what she knows. This person is confident. And that's the point. Sharing the confidence, letting people know who we are, letting people know, because by knowing who we are, again, you said educating people. Not by fighting them, but educating them. Let's not assume they know because they don't know. We had an event on Thursday. You briefly joined, Antoinette. And one of the things I mentioned there was that a lot of people in this part of the world still feel that Africa is one country.
Oh, wow.
They still feel that. But it's on you and I to actually educate them and say, no, it's not. Mm-hmm. It's 54 countries. And not only that, but actually showing them the beauty, the value, the experience, the expertise that we bring to the table. I still saw a movie, a short clip, a TV clip today where a gentleman said, they showed a picture of a young, exotic man. I call myself exotic. And the man said, I don't like him. I don't like him because he's black.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw that clip too. Yep.
And people were like, no, you didn't just say that. Mm-hmm. It said, we feel that the world owes us something. It said, we have BET, we have NAACP. We feel we need to get something because we're black, but that's not the issue, right? Mm-hmm. We feel we need to get those things because we qualify for it. We feel we need to get those things because we have the skills, the experience, the qualification to get it. So how are we now projecting that confidence? And that is what I got from you, Antoinette, today. Thank you so very much, as always. Seriously, really, really appreciate your insight and leadership. And thank you for being my mentor Always listening to my cries.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure to be here this afternoon, Addie Jazola. Thank you for the invitation again.
Back to you, Patience. So sorry, I had to make some comments.
I would pull the plug for her too if I were in your shoes. I mean, I can imagine having Antoinette as a mentor, and now I know how you are where you are to traditional. So this is all I can say is thank you once again. I have taken notes. Now I have more talking points, because my own story has been, like Adejishola said, that whole Patience is too loud. Patience is very, yeah. I've been told that you are too driven. Take it a notch back. I'm like, how does somebody get too driven? I've only been told at some point, Patience, you are too empathic. I'm like, duh. What would I do that would not be too much?
Yeah.
So it's like you have said, I will always remember my values. I will always put my values first. So no matter what people are saying, my values will always be my goal point.
Yeah.
Also somewhere I'm driving at. Then I just want to ask one question. For me, for instance, I'm somebody that it's my hope to become an executive with where I currently work, right? So what are I know you've mentioned values, you've mentioned confidence. What are what gets you going? I know the values is there, but there must be something else that you just think, because you mentioned the age at which you came to restart in Canada. I don't even think I can even do that. I'm like, wow. So I'm like, there's just something about you that keep telling you can get to your goal, because I'm very sure you still haven't gotten to that goal yet.
Not yet. Right? Not yet. Addie Jazola knows that. Not yet.
Wow.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
I sometimes I reflect on it too, and you use the word patience driven. Don't be apologetic about being driven, right? It is that passion and fire inside of you that helps to keep you going, right? I think, as Addie Jazola said, what I have, had the opportunity through my experience and interactions. And again, we talked about, the emotional quotient, right? You have to know in circumstance, as she says, when to push, pivot, or pull, right? When the temperature needs, that energy and passion at level 10, or whether it's at level 2, but not that it's ever out. Believe me, you are who you are, and be proud of who you are. It's your uniqueness that makes us different, right? But yes, in certain fora, until people begin to understand and interpret what they're seeing with the intent we are showing it, we may have to kind of temper certain things in certain circumstances. It's not fair, but I have seen that, right? For me, as you build credibility and people begin to see, as Addie Jazola pointed out, you're qualified to do the job and there's no question about your competence, then I think it opens the door for you to be able to bring forth even fuller authenticity, right? They now are not going to be judgmental as much, right, about it, because they know you have, right? So in climbing the ladder here in Canada, it is a different ladder than Jamaica. I see that, and I know that I'm not fooling myself. Addie Jazola knows the name Katie Duchek, right? Whenever I used to talk in the branches, I would be saying, and I think her role is executive vice president. She's the next to the third from the CEO, Dave Mackay. And when I was a branch leader, I would be sharing with the team, that's the job I am going for, right? It's not that I don't believe I could possibly get it. But I also know the odds are very high against me getting there. But I find that looking towards and aspiring is helping me to grow and make the steps towards it. So, you have to understand, power in Canada, the levels. We talk about opportunity, there's a lot, but then there's a lot of people here too. And there's been a lot of people too that have, you heard me talk about the stepping stones, whether you step sideways, down, or up, lattice, getting as much experience in your organization, especially in one like RBC, and hence my movement from community market manager into the regional office, is helping to build that toolkit and having these experiences in order to propel me towards my goal. Will I get to Katie Ducek? Only time will tell, but that's an aspiration, and it helps to order my steps and helps me to focus in on what I need to do and to learn from people who are close to that level. Getting to the regional office now, by osmosis, you can also learn so much by interacting with people that will help to, again, propel, again, for me, where I'd like to go. So yes, it takes a lot of courage, patience, believe me. I didn't think I had it in me. If you asked me maybe 30 years ago, if this would have been my journey, I'd probably laugh and say, what? Never. But, life unfolds as it does, and you just have to make the best of it and, just keep focused. And really, if it's your passion and your drive, go for it.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I can up that. I'm going to definitely send you a LinkedIn request. I'm doing right now.
Okay. Thank you again, all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. At this point, I'm going to call on Emmanuel to do a shout out to our sponsors. Emmanuel, are you there?
Yes. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, so you're going to do shout out to the sponsors.
Okay. Well, here at CMP, we like to give honor to whom honor is due, and thanks to our wonderful sponsors who continue to support us in almost all our endeavors. We're able to keep on keeping up. So first is Deborah Homes, which provides great real estate, and at Team Honda in Milton, which is with Emmanuel Bonambanjo. Independent Financial Advisor, Toyos. Can you please expand it? I put in presentation mode. Thank you. Independent Financial Advisor, Toya Abioye. He provides great services such as financial education and life and home insurance. Ms. Esther Abrams Realty, which helps you with also real estate advising. Right at Homes with Ms. Yemise Aladeso, and also Seda SDA Biz Solutions Inc. Jane Akeye, which is a home sweet home of your own, which is also a realtor, and Thrive Relationship Coaching with Ms. Bose, which provides great education on paternal and marriage makeovers. One in Town, which provides great and fresh baked goods, which can also be delivered, as well as Lighthouse Food, which provides great African Caribbean food for grocery shopping. IS Plate, which provides fresh taste at a great price, and Kiss Pixel Photograph, which can help you with your professional headshots and portraits. Jide Oladejo, which helps with many legal needs and services, and Isaac Olawegbin, which provides great financial needs and services as well. Duro Akirimi, which provides experts realty and is a brokerage for you if you need to get home deals, as well as Folake African Foods, which provides great African and Caribbean groceries, kitchen, and household items. Jose Aniaba, who is also a mortgage broker, and Olawabumi Osede, who can help you with your legal needs.
Thank you so much for that, Emmanuel. Once again, thank you to our sponsors. They are the reason we are able to keep our lights on. We have upcoming events here in CNP. We have free language school. That starts on the 26th of June. We'll be teaching Yoruba, Igbo, French, and Mandarin. And the teacher for the French is Cameroonian, and the Mandarin teacher is from China. So you are learning from the authentic people that will teach you those languages. We also have our virtual story time with Baba. That more information is going to be posted on that one, but I'm going to give you a sneak peek. It's about Baba it's going to be telling stories to our children from kindergarten to grade 3, 2 sections, and grade 3 to grade 6, grade 6. Yeah, he's going to tell them Tales by Moonlight. I'm sure those of us who are above 16 know Tales by Moonlight here. So it's something you should be proud and happy that your children is going to finally have a taste of what you grew up with. I, for one, is super excited. We also have our spring break program / summer break program for our youths and our adults. Please tune in. More information is going to be out on that as well. And our leadership series, just like we have here now today with Antoinette Walcott here, we're going to be having another one with Lovely Toyo on 26th of June at 5 p.m. More information is going to be actually posted as well. You can find more information in our chat sections, our links, our different website that we're on. Please check the link and follow us on those websites. We will have more information for you. Once again, the language school is free. We do know that it costs so much money to learn any form of language in Canada, but CNP has gone the tough route to bring this to us for free. So please save the dates for your children, for yourself. Let's all come and learn. Canada is a country where the more language you speak, the more marketable you are. Why don't we want to jump on this? It's free. Yeah, these are, if you check the slide, these are the summer program. This is the one with Baba. He's going to be kindergarten to grade 3, then grade 4 to 8. We are having 2 main stories, Tales by Moonlight. Who remember Tales by Moonlight? I grew up on it. The growth journey. I can't wait to look and watch my children listen to this. This is a blessing. CFP, thank you so much for this. And these are our contacts, our YouTube channel. The links are here: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We have a Telegram platform. We also have our contact, CMP Digital Lead, Mosun. That's her number. Please reach out to her if you have any questions. If you have more questions for Antoinette Walcott, on this different links, go on there and ask the questions, or you reach out to the management of CMP. I learned so much today. I can't say thank you enough. Thank you so much, Antoinette, for being here today. We really do appreciate you. And for everyone that's been here, thank you for taking an hour, 42 minutes of your time to listen. I am going to say something. I'm not leaving. I left here learning the adage, pull, know when to pull, push, and pivot. Oh my gosh, that is gonna be my new in thing. I just thank you. I the last 1 hour 42 minutes, I can say very well I have grown, and thank you for that, Antoinette. Thank you so much.
And I'm just gonna say ditto, Antoinette. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your insights. We're really motivated, and that's like you're saying, you want to be motivated, you want to be inspired, encouraged, come join CMP Leadership Series. Thank you, Antoinette.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I got my notes all over. Remember your values, your compass. Things you believe are important, use them to measure how well you're doing in life. And I love the 3 things you said: recollection, retrospection, revelation. Seriously? So I'm going out there and showing my what. So please, everybody, if you have any questions, you can always send it to info@CMPNGO. We will send it to Antoinette, and I can tell you she will respond. So thank you again. It's been an utmost pleasure.
Thank you so much, Adija.
Before we leave, please, can we just take a picture if you don't mind? Please turn on your camera if you. Oh, what am I doing? Cancel. Please, I just want to put us back to. I'm gonna change the layout. It would be nice if we can turn on a camera so that. I'm trying to make sure that everyone.
Oh, there, everybody. Oh,
Yeah.
Please turn on your camera so that we can have a good smile and we can. Awesome. So we're gonna take a picture. 1, 2, 3, go. Awesome. So you're gonna see yourself on LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and
thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your weekend.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.